In this sports game, it's often feast or famine, the highest highs and the lowest lows. And with that in mind, welcome back to the 10-8 round podcast. I am your humble narrator from filthy Philadelphia, Zach, joined by the less heartbroken John Boy down there in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You watched the Super Bowl, John Boy?
I did.
Just absolute heartbreak.
It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. You guys played great. You can't even knock Hurts. It was a great game, man. What was it? Most points ever scored by a losing team in the Super Bowl?
Something like that.
That's what
Yeah.
they say.
It was a great game. It was a great game. Obviously, as a Philly fan, I want to bitch about that late holding call, but I give the Eagles a lot of credit. They didn't bitch about it. They all kind of took it on the chin, and seems like they're already focused on ways to develop and improve. So I think this Eagles squad will be back.
They lost the OC and the DC, right? Already.
Yeah, Gannon's gone, and then whoever, I forget the OC's name, but he's gone too. I one to the Cardinals, one to the Colts.
Yeah, man. I'll never kick a man when he's down, and that applies here. So
Ooh,
keep
yeah.
rolling. Roll with the punches, baby.
Fly Eagles fly, baby. What else? What else can we do? It was a great season. It has been the most bizarre year for Philadelphia sports. The Union lose what had to be one of the best MLS Cups ever, right? I haven't watched many MLS Cups, but I watched this one and it went into like the 120th minute. It was back and forth, tied, tiebreaker, tied, tiebreaker. Great game. They lose. The Phillies, after being one of the worst baseball teams that's ever existed, managed to find some grit and determination and get to the World Series, only to lose a fucking heartbreaker. And then the Eagles beat the brakes off of everybody, only to lose a heartbreaking World Series or a Super Bowl, excuse me. I mean, it's got me worried about what the Sixers are going to look like. It really does.
I didn't want to rub salt in the wound and kind of go over that, but
I mean, it's on every Philadelphian's mind. Friend of the podcast, Timmy Green, I think is still in mourning. He's still wearing all black. Yeah, it's great to be there, I guess, right? We're better than 99% of the teams in these leagues. I don't know.
it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all, right, Zach?
I've worked myself up. There we go. I need to crack one open. There we go.
So we had a little bit of controversy this past card. So they say.
So they say. So they say.
Yeah.
I think you and I will at least start out on the same page. So should we make that our joint first takeaway from this last card?
Yeah, we can delve into kind of all the chatter that's going on in the social media outlets.
There's some people are saying they think Alexander the Great Volkanovski won that fight.
Yeah.
I'm here to say he didn't win that fight.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
I think he lost it 3-2 in a barn burner of a fight, right? I mean, that was a great fight.
Great fight.
And here's my takeaway. We'll make it my number one takeaway of the week. I think Alexander Volkanovski is still rightfully the pound for pound best fighter in the UFC right now. Right? If you look at the size difference between him and Islam Makhachev, and you look at the way that Volkanovski responded to the grappling, to the ground fighting, to playing his game as well. I mean, this was a guy who clearly executed a stellar game plan against a insanely bigger opponent. I think he's still pound for pound number one. That being said, he lost the fight.
Yeah, I think rounds 1, 2, and 4 were pretty clear for Islam. I thought the third round was a little choppy. I thought that could have went either way, but I don't disagree with it going to Volk. I had it 3-1 going into 5, and we know how the fifth round went. There are some people arguing that the fifth round was a 10-8, which is blasphemy. That's the most insane argument I've heard. But I didn't super disagree with 49-46, but I thought the right score was 48-47 for sure.
I disagreed pretty strongly with 49-46. I thought Volk let the hands go in the third. I thought he controlled the cage really well. I believe it was the third round that he actually was bullying Makhachev up against the cage at one point, which, I mean, to see somebody bully a Dagestani Sambo player up against the cage is a testament to the absolute grit of Alexander Volkanovski. I thought the third was his. The fifth,
Fair.
clearly his.
Yeah.
Good. The 10-8, absolutely not. That is silly pants.
Yes.
But his clearly, absolutely. And another 60 seconds, right? Or a better placed punch, we might be having a different conversation. It looked like Volk had him opened up there at the end. I mean, Islam's eye did not look good at the end of that fight. Islam looked gassed at the end of that fight. And quite frankly, if you're going to tell me Islam looked a little bit exposed, I'm going to agree with you. But he won the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think people didn't expect it to be as close as it was. And since it was, people are giving Volk the benefit of the doubt. You could see that Volk used to walk around at like 180 to 200 pounds. I mean, he's a strong dude. The wrestling was extremely impressive, and the grappling, him standing up, him really not being phased on bottom. It was impressive. Islam's striking did impress me, though, in the earlier rounds. That left hand was landing at will early on, which was kind of surprising. I didn't think he'd have that much success on the feet. It was a great fight. I think the rightful winner won, but I wouldn't oppose to be seeing that. I would not be opposed to seeing that again at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it again. I mean, clearly, Volk's camp went in the right direction. Clearly, they focused a ton on the grappling, a ton on the ground game. I mean, to see him really start implementing that ground game more frequently, I'd love to see, how he develops as a fighter from there. But yeah, down the line, let's see that one again. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
But I think Volk's got business now. There's an interim champ frauding in his division, so I guess he's going to have to go back down and handle business.
Thoroughly impressive performance from Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah, Yair Rodriguez.
Yair. That
Yair Rodriguez.
given Emmett's last couple fights, though, he's made some serious strides.
Yeah.
Like that was a really nice performance. I didn't expect that from him. That was nice for him, man. I think that's going to be an interesting matchup with Volk. I think people are sleeping on him a little bit. I really think that's going to be interesting because I don't know if Volk's going to wrestle really. Volk's not a real wrestling guy. He's a pace cardio type of guy, and you're kind of going into Yair's wheelhouse with that type of shit. So it'll be interesting. And I think that's probably the fight to make next, opposed to the Islam rematch. You agree?
I completely agree. And
Okay.
there's a couple of other, pick on someone your own size. There's a couple of other guys who are a little bit more Islam size calling his name out that might be more interesting. I don't know if you saw, but the diamond wants to get it on with Islam. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I just know Poirier's grappling is not good. We've seen him get controlled really bad. Habib's name rings a bell. He even got grapple fucked in the Michael Chandler fight. He threw in a reversal and locked in a rear naked choke, but he was probably losing that fight going into the third round. I just think stylistically, matchup wise, it's a shit matchup for Poirier. I don't like that. You're going to need a guy who's going to be able to sprawl like Volk. And I don't think there's a lot of guys in the 155-pound division who can sprawl like Volk.
I don't know. I find myself struggling to believe that Dustin Poirier's grappling is not at least better than Volkanovski's.
Not even close. Defensive grappling.
I don't know.
Their track record says it all.
I mean, I'll say this. I'll start here, right? Number one, I think after this weekend, I don't think Islam is anywhere near what Khabib was.
Oh, stop it.
I don't think Khabib has a close fight with Volkanovski like that.
I don't think Khabib has fought somebody like a Volkanovski, to be honest with you.
I mean,
stylistically, he got every single matchup that he salivated at. Gaethje was the one guy who we thought would have a chance just because of the wrestling background, and it just did not look good. And Gaethje just got choked out by Oliveira as well. So it's like
Oliveira.
I honestly, I don't know. I just think Volk's really fucking good.
I got to tell you, I'm going to say it definitively. I'd like to see him fight the Diamond.
I'm not saying I wouldn't like to see it, but
who do you like better? What do you want then? Who do you want?
For Makhachev at 55? Honestly, like a Beneil Dariush. I think Beneil Dariush has the better wrestling prowess to sprawl. We saw it against Gamrot. He literally completely neutralized the wrestling department, and that was Gamrot's bread and butter up until then. And Dariush has got hands as well. I think stylistically speaking, that would be the best matchup at 155, and I think Dariush deserves it as well.
Well, Dariush has some business on the roster, right? Who's he up to? Who's he up against next?
Oliveira, right?
Oliveira.
Charlie Olives.
Chucky Olives. Oliveira. There's another fighter named Oliveira.
Okay.
Went by the cowboy, the fake cowboy.
Mm.
This is Charles Oliveira, otherwise known as Dubronx.
Charlie Olives. Charlie Olives. We got it.
Right? The one and only. So, yeah, that's tough though, right? Because then do you say the winner of Oliveira Dariush gets Islam? Because we've already seen Oliveira Islam and it didn't go well.
I mean, you have to. You have to. That's a number one contender fight as far as I'm concerned.
Now that Volk has shown some holes in Islam's game, do you think Oliveira, if he beats Dariush, comes in with a new game plan for Islam?
Yeah, it's one of those stylistic things though, right? Where it's BJJ. It's not like things you can learn overnight. I do think that Volk is a perfect stylistic matchup. I did think Islam was going to roll him though. I did. I thought that was going to be a way more one-sided affair than it was. Volk's fucking impressive, man. Also, props to Brian Ortega, because Ortega had him in some really, really shit spots. It's interesting, man. That's why we love the game of MMA. Just the stylistic matchups makes things so intriguing. Anybody could beat anybody on any given day. Yeah, I think that's the fight to make. I think Dariush, Islam, Rodriguez, and Volk, I think should be the fights to be made. But
yeah,
Poirier Islam in the interim, I don't mind it. I think the Diamond deserves it, if anything. If there's one guy who deserves it, it's probably Poirier.
Probably Poirier. I wouldn't be mad at it.
No, I'd watch it.
Lots going on here. A lot of balls in the air. A lot of interesting questions going to have to get answered.
You have any other takeaways from UFC 284?
Yeah, I got two more. I sat down, I did the homework. I'm ready to go.
Let's hear it.
Next one, I think, and this is, I don't know about a hot take, but I think Francisco Prado he's gonna be back in the UFC. I don't know if he got a 3-fight deal or a 1-fight deal with the UFC. But we talked a little bit about him last episode. We had kind of talked ourselves into maybe thinking he was like a little bit of a sleeper fight. He looked good at points against Jamie Malarkey, and to go from fighting on Samurai House, local regional Argentinian MMA circuit, to fighting Jamie Malarkey, that's a hell of a step up. And I thought he answered the bell pretty well. Malarkey pulled away with it at the end, I think, clearly. But I think Francisco Prado, being 20 years old and having a lot more athletic development ahead of him, and now seeing some better competition, I think he'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, he changed up the game plan, right? He was a fast starter, all finishes on his resume, and it looked like he kind of took a couple steps back and just tried to play the fight at a different pace. But at the end of the day, he lost to Jamie Malarkey.
I mean, Jamie Malarkey's not a bad loss. Is it a great loss? No, but it's not a bad loss. To go from a regional MMA circuit to fighting Jamie Malarkey, that's a step up. You can't say it's not a step up.
I mean, he'll be back, but like, what's the ceiling there?
I don't know. 20 years old. I mean, what is the ceiling at fucking 20 years old? He's a kid still. I have no idea. I mean, he's still, I don't even think he's 20 years old. I don't think the male body has fully developed yet, right? Don't we keep growing until we're like 25 or something?
Yeah, no, I hear you. When did Jones win the belt? 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah.
And he remains the youngest champion in history, right?
I believe so.
I think that's right.
I believe so.
You put a little bit more of that muscle on in your 20s, work on the fast twitch a little bit. I don't know.
He has as many, let me see if I'm right here. You can check me. He has as many title defenses in the UFC as Khabib has fights in the UFC. I believe that's correct.
Let's see. Let me go to the Google machine here and let's see if that's correct.
It's close. Just a testament to the greatness of Johnny Bones Jones.
And that's coming on the horizon. That's coming. We are less than a month out.
Dude, I have a weird feeling that might be a little bit of a sleeper snoozer, but we'll see.
You change like the wind every day. I hear a new John. Yeah, John Jones has 11. It looks like 11 title defenses. How many fights does
Might be 13.
let's see. Make me go to the fucking share dog. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It looks like 14.
Okay. Hey, wait. Let's take a couple steps back. How the fuck am I changing in the wind here?
I don't know. You were all hype on the Jones Gone fight, and now you're like, oh, it's a sleep. It's going to be a snoozer.
I'm hyped for the fight. I'm hyped for any time John Jones steps in the ring, just based on his past appearances and how much respect those two will have for each other stylistically. I could see it be a point fight. That's all I'm saying. I could see them engage in a point fighting contest just out of sheer respect for one another.
I don't know. It's so hard when you get up to heavyweight to have a point fighting contest. These guys are throwing so fucking hard at each other. I mean, there's so much weight behind these punches. You have to imagine one's going to get through and someone's going to get opened up. And then it's a Donnybrook.
It's like the Derek Lewis Ngannou fight, right? Not in a million years could have that been a snooze fest. It's one of those. I just get a weird feeling with that.
I don't know. I mean, I for one hope you're fucking wrong. I'll tell you that much.
I hope I'm wrong too.
No, I can't see it being a snooze fest. I mean, Bones has been gone this long. I feel like he's gonna go out there looking with something to prove.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
What's next? What's your takeaway?
JDM, real deal at 170.
My takeaway too.
Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah.
Stiffest competition yet and made it look pretty easy.
2 minutes and 30 seconds easy. Yeah.
Randy Brown was floating. He was trying to feel himself in the flow state. And Jack said, I don't want any of that shit. Got inside and landed one shot, shut the lights off, and it was a wrap after that, man. That was a really nice performance.
Yeah.
He's a guy where you go, how high is his ceiling? Right? He's a guy at 170 pounds where you're like, ooh, this guy could be a problem.
Yeah.
He's
long arms, slick grappling, great hands. Yeah. I mean, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he passed this test with flying colors. Randy Brown is no slouch at all. Like, Randy Brown is a very legit guy. Super, super impressive performance in his hometown. That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where he goes next.
Who do you want to see him fight next at 170?
Leech.
The Leech?
Yeah. Rebook that fight. After the Leech sleeps Chiesa, you rebook that fight.
Well, we're going to circle back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see him fight the Leech.
Stylistically, that's just has banger written all over it.
Yeah, that's fight of the year candidate right there. That's an early candidate for fight of the year. Yeah, I mean, what can you say about JDM, man? I mean, he just fucking handled business. Put Randy Brown on rubber legs, followed him to the ground, sunk the choke, done. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. You know, a clear statement that this is not a man to be trifled with at 170. He's really business.
Yeah. Super, super stellar performance. What do you got for takeaway 3?
That was my takeaway 3, was JDM is that dude. That was it. I mean, what else can you say, right? A lot of great fights, good fight card. I enjoyed it.
Last takeaway for me, Loma Lukbumi, first and only Thai fighter on the UFC roster. Didn't know that going into the night, which is crazy to think about, just the history of Thai fighters. I'm endorsing her as a 10-8 round fighter.
Is that right?
Yeah, Loma Lukbumi. She is super slick on the feet. She's starting to round up the wrestling and the grappling. She had a submission victory. I think it was the first time Elise Reed had ever been submitted. Super, super impressive performance. They fed her to the dogs early, right? She was fighting Angela Hill, I think, in like her second fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
That's no easy fight. Look for Loma Lukumi to make some waves. I was thoroughly impressed with her performance. I think she's just as good as anybody on the feet. And if she starts to get that grappling in play, watch out. Now that she's an endorsed 10-8 round fighter as well, it's even more, it's even more impressive, really, what we could say.
Certified legit guy, Luna Lumbumi. Yeah, I mean that's been the kiss of death, right, for a lot of Thai fighters. If you look at other places where they have kind of joined the ranks of MMA, and even Rod Tang taking on Demetrius Johnson, right? It was all great until it hit the ground, and a lot of Thai fighters, that's the blind spot. And that sort of Thai style, the way they stand, the way they kind of lift the foot for timing, really can kind of leave you in the lurch if you're in there with a wrestler who can power through your shots. But you teach a Muay Thai fighter some submission grappling, some wrestling, ooh, you're creating one dangerous, dangerous predator in this world. Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah, yeah. This is
Speaking of badass women,
get me.
my girl's fighting this weekend.
Ooh, are you telling me the rumors are true and that there are fights this weekend?
The rumors are indeed true. And my girl, Erin Blanchfield, is fighting a late replacement fill in. I think that this is a worse matchup than Talia Santos.
Yeah.
She's fighting Jessica Andrade.
Ooh, that's tough.
That's a tough one.
That is tough.
You have an idea who Vegas likes in this one?
I never want to say that the late replacement is the favorite here, and though I'm tempted to, I'm actually going to say they're riding with Erin Blanchfield.
They're riding with Andrade.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
they're leaning to the experience, the explosiveness, and Jessica Andrade minus 135, Erin Blanchfield plus 115. This is going to be a 5-round main event. This is a good fight. This is a possible contender type fight here.
I would think so. I would think this is definitely the contender type fight. This is the fight to make. And I mean, this is the one, right? To find out if Erin Blanchfield really is all she's cracked up to be. She submitted Molly McCann. She submitted JJ Aldrich. She beat Miranda Maverick. And for that reason, she'll always have a special place in my heart. Sarah Alpar in between shifts at Applebee's got her ass kicked by Erin Blanchfield. So you're looking at Erin starting to build that resume up a little bit, right? She's starting to show a little bit of promise here. Molly McCann and JJ Aldrich probably her two best wins. But Andrade, that's
big jump from Molly McCann to Jessica Andrade.
I mean, you go ahead and ask Lauren Murphy when the last time she had some Murphin time, because she got absolutely torn apart by Andrade, to the point that people said Lauren Murphy's cornermen should retire for not stopping the fight.
Yeah, no, that's the type of person you're dealing with in Jessica Andrade. I mean, monster. Champion of the world at one point.
Yeah.
After she dropped Rose on her dome.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about, we'll go back to 2013, right? And let's just look at Andrade's losses. Liz Carmouche, who in 2013 was a killer. Marion Renault, Raquel Pennington.
Oh, that's early. We're going back, though. You're going back like 5-6 years now.
Right. So let's get to 2017. She's lost to Milana Jędrzejczyk,
Wiley Zhang, bad loss.
Rose Namajunas, and Valentina Shevchenko.
No, Wiley Zhang knocked her out, too.
That's what I said.
Oh, you said Zhang?
Yeah, Wiley Zhang, Rose Namajunas, and Valentina, right? Those are the three most recent losses that she has, and that's the who's who of the women's divisions.
All three were champions, yep.
3 champions, right? Those, and all three are still, floating around at the highest levels of women's MMA. So you can't really knock Andrade. You can't knock that resume, I don't think. I mean, she's beaten her last 3 fights. She beat Cynthia Calvillo, Amanda Lemos, and Lauren Murphy.
This is a big step up for Aaron Blanchfield. Is going to answer a lot of questions. I hope it's not too much too fast in this case. Who's your official pick?
Andrade.
Yeah, there's a side of me that agrees with you, but I'm gonna ride this train. And it might hit a fucking wall this weekend, but I'm gonna side with Aaron Blanchfield here at plus money. I think she's the sharper fighter. It's just, can she handle the power for 5 rounds?
Yeah.
Ugh. Tough fight, man.
Andrade's got Terminator blood, right? Like, she's just going to keep coming at you. She's just coming.
She's seen it all too, right? It's nothing she hasn't really seen. I mean, Blanchfield probably mixes in the wrestling a little bit better than the other 3 women that we named before. And that could be a problem for Andrade, but I'm gonna steady the ship, and I'm gonna ride here with Blanchfield.
Listen, you got to ride for your people. That's the way it is, right? And we
of course, I'm not abandoning ship.
You don't abandon ship. And I think, we'll have that discussion, from my perspective, a little later on the pod. We talk about riding with who you ride with.
Hell yeah. No, I like that. I respect that.
You know what's coming. Don't smile at me.
I respect that.
What I will say to the fans is enjoy that main event. Really settle in, really glue your eyeballs to that main event, because that's like one of the few good fights on this card this weekend. Right? If we're sticking with Zach's analogies for fight cards that follow big pay-per-views, this ain't the refractory period. This ain't enjoying a night home alone with Pamela Henderson and her 5 sisters. This fight card is like the equivalent of like thinking your second cousin is hot and then somebody reminding you it's your second cousin. It's bad. It's all bad.
It's bad.
It's that bad. This is not a good fight card. Now, there's always the disclaimer, right? Some of the worst fight nights that have ever been booked have produced some of the best fights, because it's a lot of people with not a lot to lose. So you might get some bangers on here, but no, with clear eyes, full hearts, you might lose. This might not be the night for it. You might be ordering a chocolate thunder from down under there at Miller's Ale House to kind of ease the tension a little bit, because you brought your buddies out to watch fights and this was not what they expected. That's all I'm going to say. Co-main event, Jordan Wright versus Zach Pauga.
What the fuck?
That's your co-main.
Zach, is it? Let me ask you a question here. Zach Pauga, right?
Tell me.
He just lost the Ultimate Fighter to Kamaru Usman's brother. Is that the same guy?
That's the same guy.
That was at heavyweight, right?
That was at heavyweight.
Jordan Wright's a 205er.
Yes.
They're fighting at heavyweight.
It appears that way.
That's the co-main event.
And Jordan Wright
is on a losing streak.
Is on a 3-fight skid. Jordan Wright also, I think, for a time was a 185er.
I'm a little baffled here.
Yeah, that's your co-main event.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Jim Miller's on this card.
Yeah, Jim Miller's on the card. A couple other guys with some name recognition.
Jim Miller, Alexander Hernandez. How is that not the co-main?
And that's a good fight.
That's a great fight. That's probably the best name value fight on this card. I don't know how that's that far down. I don't know. I don't get it. Unless the UFC sees something in Zach Pauga, maybe. I know he was a huge favorite in the finale of The Ultimate Fighter. I don't think anybody expected Usman's brother to catch him.
Right.
They're kind of setting him up against a guy in Jordan Wright where they think that, he can get the job done here.
Well, he better. Jordan Wright weighs apparently like 40 pounds less than him. So he should. If he doesn't get the job done here, he ain't getting the job done.
It's a weird element, though, right? It's like if he doesn't get him out of there early, does that weight start to slow you down? Then you got a 185er in there with you who can push the pace a little bit. But Jordan Wright's chinny, too.
Jordan Wright, let's go back to 2020. Jordan Wright beat...
He fought Bueno Silva. Bueno Silva put his chin on a platter. I mean, Jesus.
We're back in 2020. He beats Ike Villanueva.
Worst guy maybe ever signed in the UFC.
That's right. Ike Villanueva took a shift off from IKEA to go fight Jordan Wright.
Yes.
Then he lost to Joaquin Buckley. Beats Jamie Pickett. Loses to Bruno Silva via TKO. Loses to Marc-Andre Barrialt via guillotine.
These are tough ones, though. But yeah.
Dusko Todorovic via TKO.
Yeah.
Jordan,
what I will say are the last three guys he lost to are decent quality opponents.
They're decent guys, but who's he beaten since 2020, right? I mean, that's the real question is who's he beaten? Ike Villanueva?
I mean, his nickname is the Beverly Hills Ninja.
It is. Great movie, 1997, Chris Farley, R.I.P.
I'm just baffled right now.
Little fun history for you. Beverly Hills Ninja starred Chris Farley and Robin Lau. Robin Lau also played Liu Kang in the 1995 film adaptation of Mortal Kombat.
Wow, that's interesting.
There you go.
I like that.
Good shit. Am I supposed to pick a favorite here? What am I supposed to do with this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to pick Zach Pauga.
You'd be correct. Okay. Believe it or not. Minus 270, not that wide, but it is a heavyweight fight. So how wide can it really be? I'm going to go with Pauga here. I just think it's a setup fight. I think the UFC sees something in him. They thought he was going to win the Ultimate Fighter, and it didn't pan out. I don't know, though. I don't like betting against guys who got their back against the wall either. 3-fight losing streak. Jordan Wright, he gives it his all. I'll give him that. His chin just doesn't hold up. I'm going to lay off of it. I'm going to lay off.
Leave it alone. This is somebody knows something that we don't know.
Yeah, this is a weird one.
Yeah, Jordan Wright's a middleweight. Zach Pauga is a heavyweight. Somebody knows something we don't know, and I just don't like it. I don't like feeling like I'm left out of the punchline.
That's fair.
You want to talk about Josh Parisian?
No, actually.
Yeah, I really don't want. I mean, we have an MMA podcast. I guess we have to.
Legitimately, I don't want to talk about Josh Parisian. I can't believe he's still in the UFC. Jamal Pogue.
I guess phonetically that would be Pogues.
What is going on? This card is awful.
Terrible.
Who's the favorite here?
Josh Parisian.
No.
Wow.
Pogues. Dirty Pogues, minus 245. Parisian is a Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series guy, plus 205. Maybe the worst cardio in the heavyweight division. If he doesn't get it done early, he just dies. He needed CPR in his last fight. I'm going to go with Pogues here. I don't even know who he is, but I'm still going to go with him.
Jamal Pogues beat Paulo Renato Jr. last year on the Dana White's Contender Series, right? I have to imagine the UFC is setting it up for Pogues to get a win over Josh Parisian, who does not have good cardio and has not had a good win in a little while. And this is probably the end of the line for Parisian. Right? He's 2-2 in his last 4, which goes back to 2020. Lost to Parker Porter, lost to Dontel Mays, beat Roque Martinez and Alan Badeau.
Oh my goodness, God.
2 heavyweight fights leading up to the main event. What is the UFC doing?
I don't know.
Right now, lay off the loaded fries at Miller's Ale House. And by the way, that's Miller's, the official sponsor of the 10-8 round podcast. If the fights are on, you better be at Miller's. Lay off the loaded fries at Miller's because you're going to fall asleep. You're not going to make the main event. You're going to fall asleep bellied up to the bar.
Yeah, you know that this card is going to be spectacular, though, right?
Of course, that's the way this goes.
Yeah,
and that's why I said the disclaimer.
It's going to be great. Let's go to the next one.
William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. Prachnio. What did I say? Prachnio.
It's about time I correct you on some pronunciations here.
I like it.
Marcin Prachnio, William Knight. Prachnio's had a little bit of a resurgence in his career, right? He beat Khalil Roundtree. That was kind of his not coming out party because it was kind of a snooze fest. This is an interesting fight. These two guys are gonna throw. You have an idea who the favorite is here?
I gotta believe it's Prachnio.
It's William Knight.
Is it really?
Minus 120. Prachnio is even. It's almost a pick 'em. This is a good fight in terms of same talent level. So I agree with Vegas here. I'm gonna side with William Knight solely just because I think he's a little bit more explosive than Pragnio. Pragnio kind of relies on you to gas out a little bit, but William Knight does gas out. I think this is going to be a close fight. It'll probably be a split decision, but official pick William Knight.
And is this another goddamn heavyweight fight? It is.
This is at heavyweight. This should be at 205.
Isn't William Knight a heavyweight?
No, William Knight's a 205er. William Knight should be a 170 pounder.
Well, that's neither here nor
He's
there.
like 5'7".
You're right. He fought Alonzo Menafield. I guess he does fight at 205. He weighs in. He walks around at 250.
Oh no, yeah, he's absolutely massive. He just shouldn't be that. Like he could definitely. He's like a Jared Cannonier type thing, right? Where he was fighting at heavyweight and then he dropped all the way down to 185.
Yeah, this is another one. I don't know. Like I don't know who to pick. Right? I mean, first of all, Marcin Prachnio has a loss to Smile and Sam Alvey on his record by KO. So
yeah, he got slapped.
That should disqualify him from being a pick. What's weird though, looking at Marcin Prachnio, right? So he gets slept by Sam Alvey, then gets fed to a very young Magomed Ankalaev, then loses to Mike Rodriguez. Somehow he's still in the UFC after that skid.
He goes on a 2-fight win streak.
Defies all logic and beats Khalil Roundtree. Then Ike Villanueva had the day off from IKEA. He beats Ike Villanueva. Then loses to Felipe Lins.
They deserve to give him Ike Villanueva, though, after that to give him Ankalaev like that.
Ankalaev and Khalil Roundtree, and to take one of those, I mean, is saying something. But I mean, what a strange turn of events for Marcin Prachnio. And William Knight, it's not much better looking at his record. He's on a 2-fight skid to Devin Clark and Maxime Grishin, beat Alonzo Menafield, beat Fabio Chernat, lost to Dawu Young. And then going back a few years, he's won twice on Dana White's Contender Series. I don't know. I don't know who to pick here. It's a fucking weird one.
William Knight. That's what we're doing.
205. Oh, and just to correct the record, Zach Pauga looks like went down to light heavyweight. So that's a 205er.
Okay. I was going to say there's no shot Jordan Wright's fighting at heavyweight, right? Things didn't get that bad.
No, he's still at 205. Thank God. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have no reason to disagree with you to ride with Knight here. I have no reason to disagree with you, but I also can't find a good reason to agree with you.
Yeah, no, this is a flip of a coin.
Yeah, this is going to be the best fight card that ever existed.
It quite possibly will be.
Because it's so bad.
Horrible.
So fucking frustrating.
But here's the one diamond in the rough.
Here we go. Let's talk about it. This is the big one.
We got the homeboy Jim Miller fighting out of Sparta, New Jersey. Repra fucking Zen. A10 Jim Miller versus Alexander the Great, not so great, Hernandez. Yeah. Who was once an extremely promising prospect.
Yes.
And then Donald Cerrone sent him to the shadow realm. And his career never really picked off after that. He had a good first round against Billy Q in his last outing and then was finished in the second round.
Yep.
The wheels got to fall off Jim Miller at some point, right?
Well, what's weird about it is so Hernandez gets steamrolled by Cerrone in 2019. Goes on. He beats Chris Gritzmacher and Francisco Trinaldo.
You're going to pull the Jim Miller beating Cerrone, right?
Right. I mean, that was Cerrone's last fight. I was there for it. It's given me pause to root for Jim Miller, and Jim Miller was a guy I liked.
Jim Miller is one of those guys though where you're like the wheels are going to fall off, and then they just don't.
It's kind of like a Matt Brown situation, right? Like at some point you think the UFC is just going to stop giving this guy fights, and they don't.
Jim Miller's winning, man. He had a nice little win streak there for a while.
I mean, I got to tell you, I'm tempted to ride with Jim Miller on this one.
Jim Miller fought on UFC 100. He
Yeah.
fought on UFC 200, and he says he will fight on UFC 300. That's fucking impressive.
I have no reason at this point to disagree with Jim Miller when he says that.
And they're giving him tough fights.
They have not. I don't know that he's ever had an easy fight.
They give him legit guys. Alexander Hernandez. This is a must win for Hernandez too.
Gotta be.
Like
Yeah,
this is,
fight,
you know,
his
this
career's
is
never
the
taken off.
this is definition of back against the wall.
Yeah.
Who do
Yeah,
you,
Jim Miller's never had an easy fight.
who do you think the favorite is here?
I think the favorite's probably Hernandez.
Minus 230. Jim Miller plus 190.
I'm legitimately tempted to ride with Jim Miller on this one. I really am.
I think Hernandez gets the job done here. I do. I think he dispatches Miller a little bit early here. I think this is solely just youth playing a role. I think Miller's a little bit older, a lot a bit older, and I think Hernandez is back against the wall. It's a must-win scenario for him. And for those reasons, stylistically, I think he can get the job done. I mean, we're talking about a guy who knocked out Beneil Dariush not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Miller's going to push the pace like some of the younger guys who Hernandez has lost to. Cerrone was still a little bit Cerrone, right? That was before the McGregor fight. Like Cerrone still had some gas left in the tank when he fought Hernandez. Yeah. I don't think Miller's at that point in his career. I like Hernandez here at minus 230. I'm gonna be honest, it pains me to say it.
First of all, betting against the hometown. I really hate to see it. You've been in Florida just a little too long, maybe. Forgot.
Can't bet with your heart, Zach.
Really forgot where you came from.
You'd think you'd know that by now.
I don't. I consistently continue to bet with my heart, which is why I don't bet very often, because I don't know how to not bet with my heart. But no, you're right. The logical choice is probably the great ape, Alexander Hernandez. But I'm going to tell you, I've never seen anything from Hernandez that backs that. I mean, I understand it. I can rationalize it, but I've never seen anything from Hernandez that would I'm like, yeah, this is it solidly. His career's never taken off. It's never gotten out of first gear. For every one win, I feel like he's got two losses.
Tough losses though, right? Like Drew Dober,
yeah.
Billy Q, who's on a roll. He fought a really motivated Cerrone. I believe it was like Cerrone, his kid's first time in the crowd. Like,
yeah,
he has lost to some tough guys who really needed to rise to the occasion. And I think that this is his time to rise to the occasion.
I guess we're going to find out if you're right. But I would not be surprised if Jim Miller didn't have a little old man magic in the tank.
No, it's an interesting fight. Probably my favorite fight on the card.
Right below it, and maybe you can clear this one up for me. Yes. We got Joe Selecki fighting unknown fighter, according to Sherdog.
I don't even have that on my sheet. I didn't know Joe Selecki was on this card.
According to Sherdog, when I did my research, Joe Selecki is on this card fighting unknown fighter.
They're just going to pick somebody out of stands type chip?
I guess. Yeah, like, hey, you. See what Ike Villanueva's doing. Maybe he's got a Saturday off. See if Villanueva.
All right, you want to move to a fight where we know the two guys that are taking part in it?
Well, I want to know who Joe Selecki is fighting, because I believe Joe Selecki fights out of Wilmington, North Carolina, which is where I will be Saturday.
Wow,
I believe Joe Selecki is a salty dog jiu-jitsu guy. So I kind of want to know who the fuck he's fighting.
He might fight you if you throw your name in there.
He might. He better be ready for some cheating, because I'm bringing some Philly with me. Tell you I'm going to have a fucking roll of dimes in my fucking glove if they make me fight a UFC fighter. I might put a thumbtack in there. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who they match him up with the night of, I guess.
I don't know. What a strange card this is.
Oh, Vince St. Preux is still fighting.
Oh, Vince St. Preux. First of all, I don't even know. I don't want to cut you off here, but just because we're working down the card, I don't know anything about Lena Landsberg.
What?
I really don't know anything about her other than, didn't she fight Sarah McCann like forever ago?
The Elbow Queen? The disrespect.
Is this your girl?
I mean, Lena Landsberg, she's a veteran of the game.
I had to really dig deep to remember that she lost to Sarah McCann.
No, she's a veteran of the game. If you can hear that, someone's leaf blowing at 7 p.m. in the dark out here. That's very nice. Lena Landsberg, that she's a dog. I love me some Lena Landsberg.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I had no idea. I didn't know she held
The
the touchdown.
the Swedish elbow queen.
The Swedish elbow queen, the one and only,
Yeah,
fighting Myra Bueno Silva.
that's a tough fight. Silva's a big favorite. I'm going to take your catchphrase away. Silva's a big favorite, but when is Lena Landsberg not a big underdog? She's a tough girl, man. If this stays on the feet, Lena Landsberg is live, but I don't think it's going to stay on the feet. So with that being said, Myra Bueno Silva at -45 would be the play. But come on, put some respect on the elbow queen's name, Zach.
Literally, all I remember about her is losing to Sarah McCann. That's it. It's all I remember about her. I don't know. Maybe
She has
check the tape.
she fought Cyborg. She has some legit fights on her resume.
Look,
Who did she beat?
Aspen Ladd.
She beat Tanya Evinger
Okay.
when Tanya Evinger was like okay.
All right.
Macy Chiasson.
Okay.
And then lost to Sarah McMahon, Pani Kianzad, which is a good loss, and Carol Hosa, who's another good loss. She lost to Yana Kunitskaya. She got knocked out by Cyborg in 2016. That's pretty much her claim to fame. But no, she's tough, dude. She's tough. I like her.
I don't doubt she's tough. I mean, I assume if you're on the UFC roster, at a minimum, you're tough. I mean, shit, Ike Villanueva's tough.
Let's not stretch that out. 40 years of age, Elbow Queen.
Yeah, I mean, she's been around for a while. I'm not somebody who forgets a veteran of the fight game very often. So clearly, Lena Landsberg has escaped my radar a bit because all I remember is the loss to Sarah McCann. And then upon further research, she lost to Aspen Ladd 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably side with Buena Silva here.
And then can we go back? Can we go back to OSP?
We got to jump another 2 fights down this card
to
get to Ovid St. Preux.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a prelim fighter.
He is fighting PFL's heavyweight champion, Felipe Lins.
Yeah.
He won a PFL $1 million prize.
Yep.
And now he's fighting on the prelims of arguably the worst card of the year.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of how loaded PFL's roster has been.
Well, in fairness, he won the $1 million prize like 5 years ago.
He did.
Right. PFL has come a long way in those 5 years.
I guess, but Felipe Lins has not come a long way in 5 years, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's fair. I mean, he lost to Andre Arlovsky, Tanner Bozer, and then beat Marcin Prachnio.
Yeah. And now he will be fighting the corpse of OSP.
Yeah. Yeah, the once promising Tennessee Volunteer, Ovince St. Preux.
Who do you think's the favorite here?
I guess OSP.
Felipe Lins.
All right. Well, fair enough.
-210, OSP +180. Jesus Christ. Just when you think it can't get worse, it gets worse.
This has got to be somebody's got to stop giving OSP fights soon, right?
Yeah, no, somebody's got to step in. A family member, hopefully first. But
I mean, he beat Shogun Hua last year, which is kind of like going to the nursing home and beating up any geriatric, I guess. Then he lost to Tanner Bozer, lost to Jamal Hill, beat Alonzo Menefield, lost to Ben Rothwell, Darth Vader, Ben Rothwell.
He went up to heavyweight for that, yeah.
He did. That was a bad decision.
This might be a heavyweight as well.
I have no idea. It might
be at 205. I'm not sure, but
I'll check. I'm gonna check just so we know. Is light heavyweight. It's 205. Okay. Yeah, just OSP he's never quite gotten back. Well, let's say he's never quite gotten out of first gear, right? I mean, 8 years ago, he lost to Ryan Bader. He beat Patrick Cummings, lost to Glover Teixeira, lost to
Yeah,
Jimmy Manuel, lost to John Jones. Yeah, I mean, not a bad fighter, certainly by any stretch of the imagination, but never was in the realm of good fighter.
yeah, I like Felipe Lins here. I think he's pretty good on the feet, Lins. He's just not super. He doesn't have a ton of volume. He's not super active. He kind of
Yeah,
just waits on counters and sits on punches. Vince is just the corpse of Vince St. Preux. I think he's going to want to take it to the ground and put in his signature choke. That would be like his ideal game plan in this spot.
hit him with the
Um,
darts.
the it's it's a Von Flu choke, right?
Is he a Von Flute guy?
Yeah, he has him and Alexei Olenek
Yeah,
are the Von Flu. They were going to name it the OSP choke.
man.
I mean, he's nice. He's been participating in those grappling tournaments as well. He's been pretty
Yeah,
active. I think that's definitely his game plan here. I just don't. I think Felipe Lins will be aware of that, and he'll keep it on the feet and either knock OSP out or just edge him out on the feet. Is kind of how I see this one playing out.
edge him out on the points, maybe.
Yeah, or a knockout even. OSP is just he's getting up there, man. A lot of damage, getting up there in age. This could be a little coming out party for Felipe Lins.
Yeah, I maybe. Please tell me there are no more fights on this card we need to talk about.
AJ Fletcher, I mean, he was a promising guy. A lot of people liked. He's fighting Themba Gorimbo.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually was just casted in The Hobbit. Yeah, dude, I got nothing. I'm ready to wrap this up and to get into news.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's my disclaimer. Turn it on. Turn the fight card on, because this will be the one where dudes come out just throwing from the hip, throwing shots across the bow all night. And next week we'll be sitting here blown away like we can't believe the fight card was that good. Who could believe the fight card was going to be that fucking good? But on paper, we've done our best. We have done our measure best for you to preview this fight card. You're gonna take it, you're gonna leave it. I don't know. But we're honest with you. We didn't lie to you.
Probably
So
leave it, but yeah,
probably leave it, but maybe not. And so tune in. Whatever. Um, Before we get to news, can I throw a shout out in here?
please do.
I got a shout out. I had the opportunity on Monday, not just to meet, but to sit with for a few hours. A member of the Drexel University wrestling team. Their 197 pounder, Sean O'Malley, fantastic kid with a great head on his shoulders. We started talking about wrestling, and somehow we ended up talking about nonprofit work that he's doing, images for the future that he's kind of working on and trying to put into place. Could not be a nicer kid. I'm a big fan of Drexel's wrestling program. They're one of those schools that's just invested a ton of heart into their program in the last few years. The conference championships are coming up. So I am a graduate of Drexel University's law school. Shout out to the Dragons. Shout out to the boys wrestling. I believe they have a dual meet on Sunday against American. So go Dragons, baby.
Love it.
You want to start out with like a nice piece of news? Like just like something really nice, feel good story, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, what you got for me?
Jens Pulver going to the Hall of Fame. It's a beautiful moment. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
I did
moment.
he not know he was going to be on camera last week?
I don't know.
Did he
I
have
don't.
braces? He has braces.
It seems like he has like some braces. I don't know if he's trying to maybe fix some of the shots that he took in his time in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you want to talk about just a true pioneer of the game. Um, just an absolute legend of the sport. You're talking Jens Pulver.
No, absolutely.
Really just a who's who of who he fought. Yeah, the guy was a legend before there were legends in the UFC.
No, it was cute. It looked like it meant a lot to him,
Yeah,
and rightfully deserved as well. Definitely a pioneer of the game. He played an instrumental part in the UFC coming up early on for sure.
yeah, had a win. How's this? 16 years ago, he beat Cub Swanson. How's that for?
Damn,
Yeah,
that's wild when you put it into perspective like that.
Yeah, coached season 5 of Tough, which was the Nate Diaz season. Fought BJ Penn and beat him in 2002. Um, his fight
Damn.
against his fight against Kel Uno in 2001. I remember that fight. I was like 11 years old when they fought. That was a legendary fight. Fought Dean Thomas back in the day, back when Dean Thomas was still a fighter. Yeah, I mean, he made his MMA debut in 1997.
Damn.
Yeah, 97. Made his UFC debut in 2000.
Good for Jens Pulver.
Yeah. Yeah, good for Jens Pulver. Just a totally legendary career. Yeah, what else can you say? Good news, good piece of news. So I'm hoping to get out for fight week this year. I love going to the Hall of Fame ceremony. I went last year to see Khabib get inducted and Cub Swanson get inducted. Really a cool thing to see.
What do we
Did
got
you
next?
did you hear that Dan Hooker was accusing Islam of rehydrating with an IV bag?
I did hear this.
Give me your thoughts. Break it down for the people.
If I don't know the proof that he showed, I believe that they were saying that they saw bruising in one of his veins by his arm was kind of like one of the things that pointed to that. I don't know how true that is. I know that they're strictly drug tested. I feel like especially in Perth as well, it'd be more difficult for him to get away with. If we were in like Abu Dhabi or something, it'd be a little bit more believable, maybe. Then it would fit the narrative a little bit better. Dan Hooker's been talking a lot of shit. Dan Hooker talks a lot of shit. I mean, Dan Hooker's a dog, but I don't know. Stay in your cage at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Can't fight every battle. That's all.
Would be interesting though, given how kind of spent Islam looked at the end of that fight. It would add a level of intrigue if it turned out he went out and had to get an IV as well. That would I don't know.
Islam also absolutely sparked Dan Hooker.
Well, yeah.
That's got to be a little bad taste in his mouth there too.
Yeah, the sky is blue and water's still wet as well. So hard hitting news here on the 10-8 round. But it would be interesting if that were true. That would be to me a pretty big chink in the armor for Islam if he had to go out and get an IV bag and still looked that winded at the end. Be interesting. That's all.
He definitely got exposed a little bit for sure.
We'll bet, just a little. So I guess we'll have to keep an eye on that one, see if anything comes of it. I don't think anything will. I kind of tend to agree with you on that one. I think if there was any real proof to it, we'd know by now. But speaking of Dan Hooker, he's out. He's not fighting Jalen Turner anymore. Manny Gamro stepping in.
It's a bad stylistic matchup for Jalen Turner.
It is.
This is somebody who was controlled by Matt Fravola early on in his career. He was grapple fucked, and Matty Gamro is not Matty Fravola.
No,
it's a different Matty, for sure. It's a props to Jalen Turner for taking that on short notice. Dan Hooker is definitely a favorable matchup for him.
Yeah,
I think Gamro is the absolute worst type of style for Jalen Turner. But I'm rooting for Jalen Turner. I'm a big Jalen Turner truther. I like him a lot.
that's interesting. I'm kind of pulling for Gamro. I like Gamro. I kind of want to see him get back on the right side of things a little bit. So yeah, I mean, he took the L to Dariush after beating Sarukian, right? And him and Armin Sarukian had, a fight of the year candidate on their hands. So I'd like to see Gamro get back into it. Did you see that the spirit animal of the 10-8 round, Chase Sherman, the vanilla gorilla, our spirit animal, is stepping back in against Chris Barnett?
Yeah. Chase Sherman should not be fighting a heavyweight. We have this discussion every time he fights.
Every time he fights, but
he could fight at 185 probably.
I wonder if he's just if Chase Sherman is not going to be like the heavyweight Sam Alvey, where he's in the UFC just for like 20, for as long as we can remember. Chase Sherman's always been in the UFC, always somebody.
But he's not losing split decisions and draws. Like he's getting knocked out or just absolutely like beaten to shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like he has closely contested bouts per se.
Yeah.
And I honestly think Chris Barnett beats him up here.
I don't know. I mean, because of the athleticism of Chase Sherman, because he's a little bit more of a spry fighter, I'd like to think he can maybe outpace Chris Barnett a little bit. Maybe that gas tank's a little bit better than Barnett's.
I don't know. I like Barnett here. I like Barnett a lot here.
Are we are we in 10-8 bet territory?
Say less. I will take that all day.
I don't want to rush it here, but are we thinking about doubling up on the gentleman's wagers here?
Yeah, I mean, we already got Holland Pons.
Yeah.
I'll take Beast Boy Chris Barnett over the Vanilla Gorilla.
Am I really about to bet money on Chase Sherman?
Down bad.
Oh, am I about to bet money? I mean, I think the mortgage has been paid this month.
Okay,
You know what? Fuck it. I love the Vanilla Gorilla. He's out of Killcliff FC down there. So you know what? You're on.
let's
Fuck it.
go.
I'm gonna
This
ride with him.
this is where the gap's going to start to widen. I think. I think
Yeah, this
I
is
think
where
that kill clip's got you a little too relaxed. Betting on Chase Sherman.
when we say don't bet with your heart, guys, that's what we mean right there. That's me betting with my heart. I love Chase Sherman. Always have, always will. So fuck it. Whatever.
Let's do it.
Well, we got another one. We got a 205 scrap coming our way. Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker. How you feeling about this one?
I like Johnny Walker here.
I like Anthony Smith here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate it just because of Johnny Walker's fight IQ. It's
Yeah.
not super high. Anthony Smith has a phenomenal fight IQ.
Yeah.
It's more of just he doesn't have the physical traits to kind of get the job done, when it's the complete opposite in Johnny Walker, where he has all the physical traits in the world. The fight IQ doesn't measure up. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a contrasting. It'll be an interesting fight. Um, did you see how Anthony Smith looked as a fill-in for the Jamal Hill Glover fight? He was a backup and he had to weigh in. He missed weight.
This weight.
He
First, I
missed
think
weight and
first
he
time ever.
didn't look good. He
Yeah,
didn't.
I didn't get that deep into it. I mean, that's a tough spot to be in, to be a fill-in Brazil.
I'm honestly surprised he's fighting. I'm surprised he's still fighting. I think he should just stick to commentating because he's really good at it. I think he's kind of in the tail end of his career. He's been there, done that. He fought John Jones. He challenged for a belt. I don't want to see him take any more damage. He broke his leg in the Magomed Ankalaev fight too. Like, it was a super serious injury. I thought that was it for him. And this is not a slouch fight to take, right? Johnny Walker coming off of a win over Paul Craig. This is a serious fight, and I just think the trajectory of Anthony Smith is going down and Johnny Walker's is going up. So for that reason, I'm going to side with Johnny Walker here.
I think Anthony Smith has a stellar fight IQ. I think even in some of the closer fights, even in some of the fights he's lost, he's been in it. He's a tough guy. I agree with you that he probably lacks some of the physical attributes that the top of the division, the top of 205 has, but he's a tough guy. And I think Johnny Walker is just apt to do something stupid, right? And Anthony Smith will capitalize on your stupidity without compunction. But I do wonder if he gets it done against Johnny Walker, legit guy, Johnny Walker, tough fighter, if he doesn't walk away at that point. Right? Because things are looking bleaker and bleaker for guys like Anthony Smith in 205, right? You're starting to see, Jamal Hill pulling away with it. He's got a lot of fights on the horizon. Magomed Ankalaev. Anthony Smith probably isn't in the conversation for a title shot for a very long time, right? There's going to be a lot of holdup. Yuri Prohaska is probably ahead of him. Jan Blachowicz is probably ahead of him. You're looking at least another year and a half before Anthony Smith, even with a couple of wins strung together, is looking at a title fight. Meanwhile, like you said, I think he's really settled in well to his role as a UFC commentator. I think he's great.
Yeah.
So,
He is really good. I could see him fight like Paul Craig or something too. Like, I could see that maybe being like his ride into the sunset fight. I think that this is going to be just a tougher matchup. I mean, that 205-pound division minus Paul Craig is just killers on the feet. It's not a
Yeah.
division you want to play around in, right? You just named them: Jamal Hill, Yuri, Magomed. Like these guys are going to hurt you when they get you out of there. Jan, like just murderers. So, you know, you don't want to hang around too long if your heart's not in it. We'll see how he looks against Walker. This could be the last hurrah for Anthony Smith, though.
It could be. It could be. If it is, I hope it's on a dub. Obviously, our legal department is an Anthony Smith truther. So, you know, we hope for our legal department's sake, we need her being kind of clear-eyed in case we get sued. And I feel like the probability of that is usually pretty high.
Okay.
You know, Miller's Ale House hasn't sent a cease and desist yet.
Yet.
Got to imagine it's coming.
Yeah, no, the knock on the door is inevitable, really.
It's imminent that we are named as defendants in a lawsuit. Well, speaking of UFC commentators and favorites in my household, should we get to the big one?
Let's hear it.
Michael the Maverick Chiesa taking on 10-8 fighter, the Leech, Jiangling Li. I don't have to ask. I don't have to ask. I know. It's a tough fight for Chiesa, man.
It's a weird one because it's polar opposites, right? It's going to be super grappler heavy Chiesa versus super striker Li Jingliang, the Leech. So, you know, it's the best of both worlds. It's going to see who can implement their game plan the best. I don't know. We've seen the Leech get controlled on the ground, and we've seen Chiesa control some guys on the ground. Like I remember when he beat RDA, I didn't expect that coming. He controlled him pretty well on the ground. This could go either way. I think the Leech has a higher ceiling than Chiesa does, and I hope he shored up some of the grappling stances. I'm going to be rooting for him. I don't. Who are you rooting for?
We said it earlier, right? You don't abandon ship. I have been a Michael Chiesa fan since he was on The Ultimate Fighter. I will always be a Michael Chiesa fan. So this is probably the one and only time that I will ever root against the Leech. Wow. Ever. And look, if the Leech pulls it off, if he wins, it's business as usual. You know what I'm saying? We're still riding with the Leech. But I am pulling for Michael Chiesa.
You do know where that fight will be taking place, right?
I do not. Where is it happening?
Miami.
Is it in Miami?
It is.
I don't know. That almost makes it worse. Because now I'm going to have to spend this fucking money to go to Miami.
I mean, you could win it back with the Ponzi bet. That's also in Miami, Holland Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, I could win back that $20.
That could pay for, I don't know, maybe half of a popcorn.
Yeah, we could split a popcorn if I win that bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. No, I think your analysis is spot on. I mean, I think a younger Chiesa, I'd probably feel a little bit more strongly about his chances. You know, I mean, Chiesa is very in the same way that Paul Craig is kind of one-track minded. Chiesa is very one-track minded, right? Like his goal is a takedown. You can punch him in the face, you can kick him in the legs, whatever it is, he's gonna keep getting after you until he can get you up against the cage, lock his hands, double leg to the ground, top control. And I think at least in the very limited, narrow lens of MMA top control on the ground, Michael Chiesa's got some of the best top control I think we've ever seen. He can grind on you with that wrestler's pace, where every second he's moving an inch, and eventually the next thing you know, he's got his arm wrapped around your neck, rear naked choke victory. But
that's definitely the way to beat the Leech too.
It is, right? That's the way to beat the Leech, right? But on the same hand, you know, these one-track minded fighters, the problem is when you get somebody who's got hands, you know,
just pray you can get them down.
Exactly. You know, and the other thing too is, and this is what I mean when I say I would have liked to have seen this fight with a younger Chiesa. When Chiesa fought Sean Brady for the first time in his career, Chiesa was forced to stand and bang because Sean was getting the better of him on the ground. So I don't know if that's a testament to Sean Brady's grappling ability, which is really high. It's a high-end grappler.
Definitely is.
Or if Kies is maybe losing a step or two because he's, 35, 36. He's somewhere in those mid 30s. He's not the young wrestler, the Vision Quest wrestler that we knew 10 years ago when he came into the UFC. So I am pulling for Michael Chiesa, but love the Leech. The Leech is the man who solidified the legitimacy of this podcast. So I'll never badmouth the man ever. And we're just gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see what happens.
So you're coming to Miami is pretty much what I heard just then.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. This started out as a conversation of us going to Vegas for fun. Now it's degraded into me coming to Miami and you not having to fly anywhere.
We'll see. We'll see what happens in Miami. If something comes of it, you never know. Vegas could be in the wheelhouse. Never say never. Justin Bieber.
Never say never. I believe. Well, I'll tell you what. I kind of like this stupid tradition I got going, and I think at least Mike S is enjoying it. So I'm gonna keep it going.
Let's go.
If you watched Best of the Best 2 weeks ago, and you watched Choke, which I actually did rewatch last week, the Hickson Gracie documentary. Then my recommendation for this week, the 10-8 recommendation, I'm gonna kick it a little bit old school here. I'm gonna go back to 1994. I'm gonna go to Street Fighter 2, the animated film, and I'm gonna recommend that one. If you're an old school MMA head, then by default you're a Street Fighter head. But if you're a little bit newer to the game, if you want to know what we were using for sustenance back in the day, when there wasn't a fight card every week, when you got 4 a year if you were lucky, we were watching Street Fighter. We were watching fucking Dragon Ball Z. This is the shit that sustained us for months on end. This was what we ate. So I'm going to recommend Street Fighter 2, animated 1994, absolute classic. Total fucking banger. M. Bison, Sagat, Vega, Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, get after it. You a Street Fighter guy?
Before my time.
Yeah, fuck.
Tekken comes to mind. Remember Tekken?
I mean, of course I remember Tekken. That's a great one.
That's Soul
Calibur, a great one.
That's like my realm. Street Fighter was a little bit before my time. You said 94. I was born in 95.
Oh my God.
So
fuck, suddenly my back hurts. Oh my God. Well, I mean, who knows, John Boy? Maybe this is the week that you take the recommendation. Maybe you'll watch Street Fighter this week.
Doesn't sound bad, honestly. I could hop into it.
It's pretty good. I mean, look, if you ever ventured down the realm of like Dragon Ball Z, I don't know if that's before your time.
No, it's not.
If that was ever
big Vegeta guy.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Vegeta? That's a classic. There's a company called Swatch. They make watches. They've been around forever. They're making Dragon Ball Z watches, and once a week I have to talk myself out of buying the Vegeta watch.
Jesus.
I don't need this. I am a 32-year-old man. I do not need a Dragon Ball Z Swatch.
Send me a picture of this watch as soon as this podcast is over.
So hard to fucking say no to it every week. But have you ever seen Choke, by the way?
No.
I think as a man who is the co-host of a mixed martial arts podcast,
get on it.
I think it should be required viewing that you watch Choke and see Yuki Nakai, my personal grappling hero, be one of the bravest souls you've ever seen.
Did you like the new Mortal Kombat?
Okay. All right. Look,
here we go. Huh?
We've taken a veering off here. And look, guys, if you're listening, this is the true MMA head shit. I don't want to hear that you're watching the fights on Saturday night. What are you doing during the week? Are you watching the content that created this genre? I liked the new Mortal Kombat.
I did too.
It was look, let's be honest. At the end of the day, it was a cheesy karate movie.
Yeah.
But I like karate movies. People were up in arms about it. Like, what the fuck did you expect? It was based on a video game. What did you think was going to happen? They can't all be The Last of Us.
Who's your favorite Mortal Kombat character?
I mean, my favorite ever is Johnny Cage.
Okay.
But now, and here's the thing, right? The new Mortal Kombat, it was good. I enjoyed it. I went in with low expectations. The original Mortal Kombat, 1995, belongs in the Criterion collection as far as I'm concerned. That is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, that's a diehard answer, John. I get that. I get that.
Yeah, I fucks heavy. Heavy. I had it on VHS as a kid, and I watched it until the fucking tape wore out on it.
Damn, that's
That's
commitment.
that's listen, we take it back. All right. I've been in this game. I've been in this game. I've been about this life. This is what
I
I do for fun.
I played the video games before I watched the movies.
Most of us did because the video games were out in, I mean, the first Mortal Kombat, I want to say came out in 92.
Yeah, it was still irrelevant to me, but yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2, I think, might have come out in 94. I think they were both Sega games, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Yeah, they were Sega.
Right? That was a Sega Genesis. Right around the time that Virtual Fighter came out, which was a great game. But yeah, Mortal Kombat has stood the test of time.
Agreed. I was a fan of the last one. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I fucking loved it. I hope they do another one. Make more cheesy karate movies. I'll watch every fucking one you make. I don't care. And I believe now that we've taken that fucking detour that no one is going to listen to, uh, call your mother. Tell her you love her because we out.
Peace.